Hi, my name is Leina'ala and for my article, this actually didn't have a specific title or an author, but I did find a little thing at the end that said how has schooling affected Pacific societies, and my main culture is Tuboyan, which is north of Tahiti. Now, basically, what mainly this whole article was talking about was how Tuboyan children were taught at home versus school, meaning how teachers expect so much but they can't because of the way they are taught at home. Now, the first thing was impulse control, and impulse control at school, teachers were very strict. They were taught that they can't move around or touch others. They had to sit and sit still. And at home, they also learned that, which is a theme that they actually clash together. That whatever they learn at home is what they learned at school. So this was basically a good thing of learning from home that they were able to take to school, because instead of being like other regular students, they stayed put and they listened to their teachers. The second thing was rigid scheduling of activities. Now, they had certain activities that were at a particular time, but the thing was is that at home they have a thing what is called natural day, and what that was is that they have a certain time, but they don't have a certain ending time or even whenever they start. So at home, Tuboyans are so used to sticking to coming whenever people are showing up or leaving whenever they feel like it. Now, part of this article, they also talked about how they talked about there's no sleeping schedules, so they didn't really believe in sleeping schedules. So it was just whenever they felt tired they just sleep. So that was a problem at school, because teachers felt when it came to math problems of knowing time, the children wouldn't understand because they didn't really go by time really, but they mainly go through natural day, like just whenever everyone shows up or whenever they think is the right time. um the third one is attitudes towards anatomy and home culture versus school culture. Now, this one, at home, they don't really have twins. They don't really interact with other people. They mainly interact with their own kind, which is their own older siblings or younger siblings, and that kind of affected the whole teachers at school, because of course there were different kinds, and children were expecting to be treated differently, and but they had to be taught that they all had to be equally. So it was kind of difficult for them. Socialization, like I said earlier, they only really interacted with their older siblings or their peers, um, which some old adults felt like they were old enough, they can watch themselves and be dependent on whoever they talk to. And the thing is with that children actually learn from adult performances, which is actually kind of good but kind of really bad, not knowing what things adults do. And also they talked about how the behavior of children in public. Parents really watch how the children are in public, because however they act in public is the way they are taught at home, which is the only concern the parents felt. Um, Unfamiliar with information, children weren't really taught at home because the households felt like it wasn't really that important to know. And so children expected um, to find information, um, or to expect to find their own way of the answers, and to be able to find out for themselves, which is a kind of sad way to think about it. New information and knowledge is treated. Now, this it was just basically talking about. I put some points on there that was from the article, but basically it talked about was that they didn't really encourage families at home didn't really encourage new information or knowledges that children would be able to have because it wasn't really a source that they thought was important. So children felt like, as it says, children can and do demand that adults prove it. So children felt like they had to, since they feel like they've been lied their whole lives, they have to have adults prove themselves, which is kind of hard for teachers because teachers would have to be more lenient of what they have to teach. Um, the last one is questioning, and many students, since home questions are asked by those desiring information with the expectations that the answer has that knowledge. Um, with that, um, it shows just how students or kids don't really learn from home. They feel like they have to learn from themselves, and I think that's how they're taught and raised up, that they have to be independent, they have to know or find their own resources, not getting it from the adults they live with. And teachers felt like it was kind of bad because students would challenge what they stated and then be kind of rude about it, and so teachers felt like it wasn't right for them to be like that, and they were punished, which is, I think, is kind of not good because children don't really know, they're the innocent ones, so they need answers, right? So that's what I thought. And in conclusion, basically what I've there's some points right here, but I really thought that home was very different from classroom expectations. Home, I think, was more about independence, where they find out through themselves. They had to figure it out their own ways, not through their parents. And um, it was kind of interesting to know how parents don't realize the importance of teaching their children the right and wrong things. So that's what I basically learned from this, and I hope you guys like it, and thank you.